Welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to take some amazing wisdom from ancient Stoic philosophy and some brilliant modern thinkers, and we're going to put it all together to build a framework, an actual architecture really, for a more intentional life.
So let's just dive right in with the most fundamental question there is. It's hiding in pretty much every book of wisdom ever written. It's not, what should I do? It's something way deeper. Right now, in this moment, who or what is actually running your life?
You know, if we're being completely honest with ourselves, the answer often isn't I am, it's the waves. An angry email completely sinks our mood. A single comment on social media throws our whole day off track. We're just constantly being pushed and pulled around by what's happening outside of us.
And this brings us to this incredibly powerful 2,000-year-old metaphor from the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius. He just framed this internal battle perfectly.
Now, notice the goal this quote is setting up. It's not about trying to stop the waves. That's just impossible, right? Life is always going to be chaotic. The real goal is to become the rock, to build this inner stability that can stand strong no matter how hard the outside world is crashing against it.
So this really lays out the choice we're all facing, every single day. Are we living a life of reaction, just getting tossed around by the waves, anxious, distracted, and totally owned by what the Stoics called the passions? Or are we actively cultivating the qualities of the rock, unmoved, present, strong, and intentionally choosing how we respond?
Okay, to build on that idea, let's jump to a more modern concept from the writer Steven Pressfield. He makes this great argument that to become the rock, we first have to figure out who we even mean when we say the word I.
So what this does is kind of break down our identity to show a path inward. We all start with the ego. That's the noisy, reactive part of us that gets totally tossed by the waves. But by going deeper, through these layers of witnessing ourselves, we can eventually connect with that fifth I, our quiet, creative, really powerful core. And that's the part we want to put in charge of our lives.
So how do we actually do this, right? How do we strengthen that fifth I and truly become the rock? Well, it's not about wishful thinking or just wanting it to happen. It comes down to a set of very real, concrete, daily practices.
Let's start with a really powerful tool for managing our emotions, and it was famously used by Abraham Lincoln. Think about it. During the unbelievable stress of the Civil War, whenever he got absolutely furious with someone, he would sit down and write them a scathing letter.
But here's the kicker. He would never send it. This is such a brilliant illustration of the power of the pause. By creating that little gap between the stimulus, his anger, and his response, Lincoln could totally honor his feeling without letting it control his actions. He got all that emotion out without the inevitable regret that follows a hasty reaction.
Now here's another practice, this one from the Roman philosopher Seneca, and it might sound, well, almost too simple. He believed that the path to a calmer mind was quite literally a path you walk on.
Walking isn't just exercise. It's an incredible mental tool. The physical motion actually helps your body metabolize stress hormones like cortisol. It physically pulls you away from distractions and creates that mental space you need to find clarity. It is truly medicine for a troubled mind.
You know, underneath so many of those waves that toss us around is one single engine: fear. And this little acronym gives us a powerful, structured way to engage with it. Instead of running from it, you face it, you explore it, you accept it, and then you respond to it, without judgment. It's basically a playbook for taking back control.
Okay, so we've talked about all these amazing practices. The unsent letter, the walk, that method for facing fear. But you know what? They all hinge on one single foundational skill. It's the master skill that holds everything else up.
Check out what memory expert Jim Quick has to say about this. He makes this profound point. When we forget something, the problem isn't usually our brain's ability to hold on to information. The problem is we weren't really paying attention in the first place. We weren't truly present.
And, developing your attention, your ability to be powerfully present, is about so much more than just memory. It is the absolute foundation for deeper relationships because people can feel when you're truly with them. And it's the bedrock of creativity because that deep creative self, it only shows up in that quiet space that true attention creates. All right, let's pull back for a second. Let's zoom out now and see how all of these pieces, the philosophy, the practices, that master skill of attention, how they all snap together to form the complete architecture of a well-lived life. Now, this model is actually adapted from the management guru Peter Drucker, but it works perfectly for an individual life.
See, a well-lived life, just like a great company, needs balance. It needs performance. You got to have discipline and get results. It needs warmth. You need connection and empathy. And it needs substance, integrity, and presence. If you neglect any one of these three legs, the whole structure just becomes unstable.
But look, this whole journey, it's not about making some grand, heroic gesture overnight. As the legendary golfer Arnold Palmer said, it's about the compounding power of daily, consistent practice. What looks like luck from the outside is almost always just the result of showing up day in and day out. And this brings us to this really cool, practical principle called AMWOP, as many wins as possible. The idea is to consciously collect small victories throughout your day. You did the workout. You wrote the unsent letter. You went for that walk. Each one of those small wins is like a piece of evidence you're handing to your brain that says, see, I'm the kind of person who follows through. And over time, that evidence literally builds your identity.
And that really brings us to the core of it all, with this incredible quote from Lincoln. It reminds us that this work is deeply personal. Wisdom isn't something you can inherit. You can read all the books, you can listen to all the explainers, but in the end, you have to do your own growing. You have to build your own rock.
And this really is the final takeaway. The architecture of a great life isn't built in those dramatic, life-changing moments. It's built brick by brick in the small, ordinary ones. The secret is the quality of attention we bring to those little moments. So the question isn't just who's running your life, but maybe more importantly, how fully are you showing up to it?